Hello, hello to whoever happens to be watching this, and also future me. Um, Figured I would talk about just a couple things that have been on my mind. Um, so yeah, so recently, I've been going to a lot of card shows because I just enjoy going to card shows. Fun fact. Um, and when I do go to card shows, and I don't really know if this is a bad thing or not, it's kind of just something I've become accustomed to. I usually go expecting to not make any deals, and it's not because I'm not sociable or I'm not flexible or I don't negotiate. It's just that the majority of our cards are broken out of slabs, and so I value them in a way that is not particularly maybe typical. Um, and that's just personally how I do that. I don't force anyone um to ever like agree with those prices or whatever. For example, with a lot of higher demanded cards that we have, that I've broken out of slabs, I I will price them or quote unquote value them. Even though I hate valuing my cards, if someone asks me, what do I value this at? Unless I just truly don't know, then I will try to have. If I'm like interested in trading it, then I need to have like some kind of value to go off of it. I can't just say it's like I don't know what it's worth. If I'm gonna trade it, I have to have some kind of valuation on it. And when it comes to that valuation, for me personally, I especially since I've broken them out of slabs, I don't really care what anyone says. I price them close to the grade that I broke them at, and I'm not forcing the person to agree or whatever. They don't have to. If they like that price, if they're happy with that price, then that's awesome. And if they don't, then that's totally okay. There's many, many, many other copies of the cards that people try to um negotiate with me for. Um, so I went to a card show on Sunday. Um, and yeah, when I go, it's just like I usually just go to just be around the community and just see what's going on. And I usually never ever intend to I usually never ever intend to or not intend but rather expect to make a deal or a trade because like I just I have atypical prices for my raw cards. So and that's usually okay. That's usually the expectation that I hold going to shows. But this Sunday was an exception. um I actually did manage to make a trade, which is super awesome because that doesn't happen too often at all. It does not happen often at all. What the hell? Right. Um, and I actually made it for two cards. Um, and these are the cards. It is a Gyarados Gold Star First Edition. In a 7, and a Play Promo Gold Star Vaporeon in a 9. I will definitely be breaking this out. Um, I will only trade it for I will trade it for other cards that I want in raw in similar condition, or I will just break this out. And we already own this card. We already own this card raw. So I will try to trade this card for raw that I am missing, but if not, I'll just break it out. But I really have a thing where I do not like breaking out nines at all. I don't like it's a really clean 9. This one's actually from China. If you're familiar with Pokecolor um, auction house, then you will know that it is from China. So this came all the way from China. It is insert, so it is fairly, I say fairly new, but yeah, it's pretty new. Really nicely centered, as you can clearly see. Honestly, not my favorite gold star. My favorite gold star, people would know, is Espeon, specifically the Japanese Espeon, which is obviously my pride and joy. Um, but yeah, I ended up trading for these two. What I gave was, and we had that car for quite a while, so I'm a little sad that it's gone. But it's like a lot of you just have to make choices sometimes. Um, have to make choices sometimes, and like I own a lot less legendary collection than I do Japanese Gold Star. So, I can always come back to legendary collection. I'm trying to finish Japanese Gold Star right now. So what I ended up giving was our legendary collection uh Charizard that was in one of my older videos a long time ago. I say a long time ago, but probably no more than a year ago. But if you want to go see what the copy looks like, it's in one of those videos. It might be in like maybe like 1 or 2 or 0 or something. I don't really know. But anyway, that's what I gave, and just a teeny bit of cash on top. Honestly, this holo is kind of crazy. I actually don't. I mean, I like it. I still like it, but I prefer like I wouldn't even know what to like call it. I mean, obviously this is like I guess Cosmos. This would be Cosmos, but then I guess this like obviously this is Delta species. So we can just I don't know if this has an actual name for it. I mean, obviously it's a holo, but I guess we'll just call it the Delta species holo. Um, I actually don't like this holo as much as the Cosmos holo. Obviously, Mew, Charizard, and Gyarados have this. I'm trying to think of any more who may have it, but I don't think any others come to mind, at least with Gold Stars. Just really know the Charizard and the Mew and the Gyarados, obviously. Which is funny because in Hold On Phantoms, it's the Mew. It's not the Mew. Ignore me. It's the Mewtwo, Pikachu, and and obviously Gyarados. But for some reason, I guess it's because it's a Delta species card. Since it's a Delta species card, I guess it gets that. So I guess that's why. Even though like the Pikachu and the Mewtwo are Cosmos Holo, but the Gyarados is Delta species Holo. So I guess just all like the Delta species, which would make sense because the Mew is like a water type and the Charizard is a dark type. So that would make total sense, I guess. But it's just pretty interesting how a different Gold Star within the same set had a different holo kind, like holo pan, I guess, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, that was the trade. Um, this holo is honestly kind of crazy. It kind of even looks like the water is almost wet. It's kind of weird, at least like from my perspective. Like it actually looks wet. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, I do like this card. Is probably honestly thinking about it. I want to say it's probably my second favorite. The pose is really cool, and I don't know a lot of I don't know the hollow like the hollow background is just really good. I don't know. I just think it contrasts very heavy to what Vaporeon actually like what regular Vaporeon is because regular Vaporeon is obviously blue, and I think like going from like a totally different color makes it stand out a lot more because like Gold Star Jolteon is like in the game in the games Jolteon is green shiny, it's like it's this weird limey green, but the card depicts it in a way that it's this like greenish yellow, so I don't particularly like that one that much. But then obviously I love Espeon green because that's like a really cool, I don't even know how to describe that green. It's also it's not a lime green, but it's like a subtle limeish but soft lime green. I don't know. Um, but I definitely like those two the most, the Espeon and the Vaporeon. I just think that the total color shift is very cool. Umbreon doesn't even have a total color shift either. It kind of just has like the accents change, and then Flareon just becomes lighter. So that's why those two are my favorite. So yeah, I do like this card a lot. Um, the person who I traded the Zard to is, I would say they're a friend of mine. They're a friend of mine at this point. And they're going to get it signed by Arita. So, best of luck with that. I hope that goes well. That it's definitely a card to get signed for sure. A very good card. I don't know like the alt. I don't really know too much about populations. I know a little bit about populations for certain cards, but not on the legendary collection Zard. But I would imagine there's very little auth. So that's very cool. So yeah, I am gonna try to see. I don't know. I feel like I have some plans. I will be going to Shanghai soon. So I would have broken this out by now, but I'm trying to see if maybe I can, like, maybe if I can work something out. Maybe if I can be a little like, because usually I would break it out, but it's a 9. It's very valuable. and we already own the card raw, so it would be like wiser to trade it for some raw, and just build the collection. This I'm very tempted to break out, but I want to see if I can find a clean raw copy and trade someone for it. That would be really nice. I am thinking of that. So I haven't broken them out yet. Me 1 year ago, I would have just broken them out and said, all right, straight into the binder. But I'm trying to be a little cost efficient, a little cost effective. So that's that. So that's that for these two cards. Yes. The other thing I want to talk about is actually I talk about it quite a lot, but um I'm gonna cycle back. It's not necessarily just grading, but I have a friend. Their name is Chansey. Specifically Last Chansey, and they're a collector just like me. He's a collector just like me, and we collect a lot of the same things. Um, and I don't know how long he's been doing it, but I mean, I guess I can just say past few years. Over the past few years, he's become a vendor, and I mean, I've already made it clear my stance on like if I were to ever become a vendor, and that's just never happening. But he is a vendor, and that's totally okay. Um, and we talk pretty frequently. We talk about his purchases, about how he feels regarding the hobby, about how he feels about his own like I guess business. I guess it's a business. I don't think it's like a LLC or anything, but like it's still like a business. He invests, and he has money coming in and money coming out. So it is a business, even if it's like a small one. It's still a business, and we talk about that. We talk about how it's going and stuff. And to be honest with you, from what I've seen, it honestly seems really, really stressful. It seems really, really, really stressful. And we were talking about that, and we were talking just about like it's a lot of hard work. We were talking about his process, and he recently just got back from Japan, and he bought a ton of cards, and he was talking about how like, and I personally think he's bought too many cards, like too many cards, and a lot of the cards aren't the most liquid. There's a lot of like complexities and like what ifs surrounding the cards. They're great cards. It's just I guess when you're a vendor, like you need to be very like cautious about what you purchase. You don't want to get stuck with stuff. We were just talking about this whole process about how he's going to basically downsize like everything that he's purchased, because he's purchased a lot of stuff, and not all of it can be easily moved. And he was just talking about how like he's got to price up the cards and create listings and stuff, and I'm talking like he's got like well over like 500 cards, and they're pretty niche too. So it just seems really, really, really stressful. And I was just talking to him about like, hey man, just like you know I don't think he likes vending. I don't think he likes it at all. I think it's pretty tedious for him. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I do believe that he finds it to be pretty tedious. And I do know for a fact that the only reason he started vending is to basically, like most people, is to just, fund their collection. So you buy and sell, you make money, and the money that you make, you put into the things that you want. Um, but I think somewhere along the line, somewhere along the journey, he just kind of fell off the rails a little bit, and he told me like as he was just doing some business stuff one of those days, he like just took a moment and asked himself like, why is he even doing this? And that really like that really that really sort of like even made me think. It didn't make me think about why I'm doing what I do, but it just made me think like, wow, like that's like a crazy realization to have, because like you're doing something that is a big commitment, like vending, and buying like cards in the tens of thousands, and all of a sudden, just like out of the blue, you just ask yourself like, why am I doing this? And I know he likes collecting. I'm talking specifically just about like the buying and reselling and stuff, and it's like that's a crazy like just self-reflection moment to have right there. And I just told him like, yeah man, like it's important, like don't forget, you know, what you actually like doing. Don't forget like why you initially started doing this, and don't forget what you do. Like you're a collector first. Um, and we were just laughing one time because like he was so stressed about some because he went to Malaysia for an Arita signing, and like he spent like 3 days just super stressed out over like what cards to like get autographed. And I was like, dude, this seems like a freaking nightmare, bro. Like this guy's getting major headaches because I mean, obviously some cards are more valuable, like all, but then like he's got to crack some slabs, and maybe this one get a 9, and he's got to get a sketch on this card and an auth on that card, and like value this, value that. And to tell you the truth, it just seemed like an absolute major headache. Like I can never do that. And he said to me, what do you call it? Am I scaring you from vending? And I said, no, you're not scaring me from vending. I mean, you're not scaring me from vending, but I mean, this is just literally the reason that I would just never vend. It just seems like it saps like the absolute fun out of, you know, why at least why most people initially start collecting. Everything becomes about prices and numbers and statistics and value this and investment that, and it just seems so buns. And one thing that I did super mention is that I don't know, like I feel like when you vend, like it really just takes away from just like what we all initially started out as, and it's just collectors. Because like it just becomes like, especially with like graded, people like see graded, and then it reaches a point where you just start seeing cards as inventory. You just start seeing cards as like inventory and stock, and it's like I could just never view these things as like just like stock that comes in and goes out. And I'm sure a bunch of people like do, like tons of people, and that's totally fine. But I could never become a vendor, because I'm sure with a bunch of vendors, like they could have some of the coolest cards, and like to them it's just another day in the office. Dude, what is happening with my phone? I don't know why it does that. It's probably Macari notifications. But anyway, yeah, they could have some of the coolest cards in stock, and like it's just inventory to them. It's just like they see it, and like I mean I've seen videos of just people like just having people like other, like the average, I'm not gonna say the average person's grail card, but just having a certain person's grail card. Like I've seen people just like do like a submission or whatever, like a submissions return, a grading return or whatever, on like high tier grail cards. They don't get the grade they want, and they just like toss the slab like on the desk or something, all because it didn't get a 9, or they're expecting a 9 and it gets like an 8, and they just like they just talk like as if it's like, oh well, I mean this is useless now. It's like, dude, like that, like some people would literally like dream of having that card. And so, and I feel like a lot of vendors are guilty of that. Um, and I'm not gonna say that's okay, because I personally don't think that's very cool. But I do understand, to a lot of people, cards are just a tool for business, and that is understandable. That's also just how the world operates. As to a lot of these people, they are just like assets, and that's cool. But I just feel like when like there comes a point with vending where like it becomes less about this and it becomes a lot more about like this. And I've also seen people um like have a card, and they're like, dude, check out this card. And then like the very next thing they say is, oh yeah, but it's not a 10. It's like, dude, okay, it's not a 10, sure. But it's like, this card freaking rocks, bro. Like, what are you saying? I've just seen like I've just like overheard conversations like, oh yeah, dude, like not a 10. It's like, yeah, dude, whatever. Um, yeah, I mean, so I'll just never, vending, not for me. I don't know why I always talk about it, but I guess because I have a lot of friends who do vend, and it just seems like they really just don't enjoy vending. Like I honestly should like go speak to like more people at shows and ask if they actually enjoy vending. because I'm really curious about it. I just realized these two coins are like opposite facing too. It's almost sort of like they're looking at each other, kind of like a little JoJo moment right there. It's kind of cool. But anyway, yeah, uh, I think that's it. I think that is it. Really happy about these two. I do miss the Zod, but I'll get another one. Um, Building these guys. So yeah, I think that's it.